What if, what if the greatest historical book ever written wasn't actually history at all? Like, what if you found out that a text you've always thought of as, a factual record of the ancient world was actually a secret coded psychological manual?
Yeah, that is, I mean, it's a massive claim.
Right. And what if its entire hidden purpose was just to teach you exactly how to create your own reality?
It completely upends how most of the world interacts with the material. I mean, it demands a really foundational paradigm shift from the reader.
And honestly, sparking that kind of paradigm shift is exactly what we do here. So welcome to the deep dive. If you're new here, our mission is simple. We take a giant stack of sources, articles, historical research, your listener notes, and we just extract the most important nuggets of knowledge.
We cut through the noise so you can walk away well-informed.
Exactly. So today, our focus is squarely on the work of the mystic Neville Goddard. Specifically, we're diving into his 1948 text, Five Lessons, a Masterclass. Now, Goddard wrote, I think, 15 books over his lifetime, but this specific piece of writing is, well, it's exactly what the title promises. It's a highly practical, step-by-step masterclass.
Yeah, and just to set the stage for how we approach this text today, we really need to unpack Goddard's core premise, which is that consciousness is the absolute only reality.
The only reality.
Right. He asserts that everything you see, touch, experience in the physical world is merely an effect. It's a delayed shadow of what you are currently holding in your own mind.
Which is wild to think about.
It is. So our goal today is to extract his exact method for manifesting desires based on his incredibly daring reinterpretation of ancient texts.
Okay, but I do want to jump in with a quick but super important note before we get deep into the weeds here. Because Goddard bases his entire philosophy on the Bible, we are going to be dealing with some highly contentious, non-traditional interpretations of religious texts.
Very non-traditional.
Yeah, so to be completely clear, we are not taking sides here. We're not endorsing these views as historical fact or taking any theological stance. We are purely acting as your impartial guides, just breaking down Goddard's radical claims exactly as he wrote them so you can explore the concepts for yourself.
And that context is so crucial because Goddard's central claim leaves absolutely zero room for traditional interpretation. It's like none at all.
Zero room.
Yeah, he argues that the Bible has absolutely no reference to historical persons or events. None whatsoever.
Like literally none?
Literally none. According to his research, it is an allegorical picture lesson. Ancient storytellers, he claims, used what he calls solar and phallic myth to reveal profound psychological truths.
Okay, solar and phallic myths.
Right, because they simply didn't have modern anatomical or neurological language back then. Yeah. Or even astronomical language. So they used the predictable movements of the sun and, basic human biological functions as a symbolic framework. It was a way to explain the hidden mechanics of the human mind.
Meaning all these incredibly famous, towering characters like Moses, David, Jesus. He's saying they were never actual flesh and blood people walking around the desert.
Exactly. Goddard argues that every single character in the text represents a different attribute or an emotion or a state of the human mind. The entire drama of the text is actually happening entirely within you.
Oh, wow.
And he points to a specific historical catastrophe to explain why humanity lost this understanding. He points to the burning of the great Alexandria Library.
Oh, right. The ancient world's ultimate repository of knowledge. That fire was devastating.
It was. And when that immense library was destroyed, Goddard claims the keys to decoding these ancient allegories went up in flames right along with it.
So the translation keys were just gone.
Gone. Without them, subsequent generations just lacked the context to understand the psychological parables. So over centuries, humanity gradually began to mistake these internal psychological dramas for literal secular history.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because, it's like finding out a famous historical biography you studied your whole life is actually just a coded software manual for the human brain.
That's a great way to put it.
But here's the major hurdle, and I know it's what you listening are probably wondering right now. How does a reader just suddenly let go of thousands of years of literal historical interpretation?
It's hard.
It's a massive psychological shift to ask of a person. Like, how does Goddard justify asking people to completely erase their worldview?
What's fascinating here is that Goddard actually uses the text itself to address that exact friction. He utilizes the metaphor of a well of water blocked by a heavy stone.
Okay.
In ancient times, placing a stone over a well meant the life-giving water was inaccessible. He suggests that taking these stories literally is exactly like leaving that heavy stone in place.
Oh, I see.
The literal interpretation is the stone. You have to willingly roll the stone away, meaning discard the historical, literal view to access the water, which is the psychological truth underneath.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right, because leaving the stone in place means you die of thirst while sitting right on top of an infinite supply of water.
That is a stunning image.
Yeah.
You literally have to do the heavy lifting of rolling your preconceptions away. And I guess once we roll that stone away, once we agree to view the text purely as an internal psychological manual, we hit the first massive revelation in the text.
We do.
We get to decode the true identity of God and the actual mechanical formula of creation.
Yeah, and for Goddard, the concept of God has nothing to do with an external being sitting up in the clouds judging humanity's actions.
Right.
God is simply man's unconditioned awareness of being.
Unconditioned awareness. What does that mean exactly?
It is the fundamental, raw feeling of existence before you attach any labels or limitations or conditions to it. He defines this state by the phrase, I am.
I am.
Yeah. Before you can be John or Mary or rich or poor or sick or healthy, you first have to declare that you exist. You have to say, I am. That raw, unconditioned awareness is the ultimate creator.
And he takes this a massive step further, right? Because he decodes the ancient Hebrew name of God, which is composed of 4 letters, JOD-HE-VAU-HE.
Yes.
And he doesn't read it as a name. He breaks it down into a literal operational formula for creating reality.
The psychological framework gets highly systematic here. So the first letter, J-O-D, represents that unconditioned awareness we just discussed. It is simply the state of saying, I'm aware.
Okay.
It has no form, no shape, and no direction yet.
So it's basically the blank canvas, just the raw electricity.
Exactly. And that blank canvas is where the second letter comes into play. The first H-E represents the specific idea or the desire you want to manifest. You transition from a state of I am aware to I am aware of something.
You give it a direction.
Right. You introduce a condition. So let's say you introduce a desire for a new career.
Wait, I love this because it completely reminds me of a 3D printer.
Oh.
Think about it. If JOD is the electricity plugged into the wall like the raw, formless power that makes the machine work, then what is the next step?
Well, then the first HE is the digital blueprint you load into the computer. It is the exact, detailed idea of what you want to make.
Yes.
Which leads us to the third letter, VAU. Now, in Hebrew, VAU means nail. This is the crucial active step in the formula.
The nail.
Yeah, this is where you unite your unconditioned awareness, your JOD, with your idea, your AG. You literally nail them together through feeling. You must assume the state of the wish fulfilled, feeling the reality of the desire as if you already possess it.
So VAU is the actual printing process. It's the heat and the movement of the printer where the digital blueprint takes solid shape, nailing the idea into reality.
That's a perfect analogy. Bring us to the final letter, the second HE, which represents the objective visible world.
The final product.
Exactly. Once you have nailed your awareness to the idea through the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the physical world automatically reflects this new state of consciousness.
Yeah.
It is a mathematical certainty in Goddard's system. Your consciousness doesn't judge whether the blueprint is good, bad, wealthy, or impoverished. It just prints it into your physical reality.
The printer doesn't care what the blueprint is. It just prints whatever you load into it. But changing that blueprint means letting go of the old one, which brings us to a really radical take on a story we've all heard a million times.
Oh, the story of Jesus and Barabbas.
Yes.
So, in the traditional historical reading, the crowd chooses to release the criminal Barabbas and crucify Jesus. But viewed through Goddard's psychological lens, this entire scene is an allegory for manifestation.
Everything is internal.
Right. Barabbas represents your old limiting concept of self. He is the internal criminal currently robbing you of your potential and keeping you stuck. Jesus represents your new, desired concept of self, the psychological savior of your current situation.
But the twist is what you actually have to do with these two identities to make the 3D printer work, right?
Yeah. To experience a tangible change in your life, you cannot hold on to both identities simultaneously. You must deliberately release Barabbas.
You have to let him go.
You have to let that old identity, with all of its familiar problems, anxieties, and limitations, completely die in your mind. You withdraw all of your attention from it. Only when you stop feeding the old self can the new concept of self-Jesus be resurrected and objectified in your world.
Here's the thing, though. Releasing Barabbas is incredibly hard. Like, we get comfortable with our misery, you
I
know?
really do.
We build whole personalities around our limitations. So if the formula is theoretically that simple, just become aware of a new reality and let the old one die, why do we struggle so deeply to actually change our lives?
Well, Goddard points the finger directly at our physical senses. He argues that humanity is currently trapped in a three-dimensional focus, which is entirely dominated by our five senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell.
Right.
We let the physical evidence of what we can currently see and hear dictate what we believe is possible for the future. He calls the solution thinking fourth dimensionally.
And he uses two very prominent allegories from the text to explain this trap of the five senses.
He does. The first is the story of the Pool of Bethesda. Now, in the original text, Bethesda translates to the House of Five Porches. Goddard points out who is waiting on these five porches: a multitude of impotent, blind, and lame people, all waiting for the water to be disturbed so they can be miraculously healed.
So the five porches equal the five senses.
Exactly. We are those impotent people. We sit around waiting for our five senses to give us permission to feel healthy or wealthy or happy. We wait for the outside world to change before we allow our internal state to change.
Man, that hits close to home.
It gets deeper. He reinforces this by decoding the story of the woman of Samaria at the well. Jesus tells her she has had 5 husbands, and the man she's currently with is not her true husband.
Let me guess. The 5 husbands are, again, the 5 senses.
You got it.
Yeah.
Goddard explains the metaphor by pointing out that a husband impregnates. Our 5 senses are constantly impregnating our consciousness, which he sees as the womb of creation with limitations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so our eyes look at a terrifying bank statement, and that sight impregnates our mind with the feeling of poverty. Our bodies feel physical pain, and that sensation impregnates our mind with the feeling of sickness. We're constantly bearing the offspring of our 5 senses.
So then, who is the guy she's currently with in this story?
Jesus, in this story, represents the awakened fourth-dimensional intellect. He is the 6th man, the true husband, who completely ignores the dictates of the 5 senses and impregnates the mind with the desired reality, regardless of the physical evidence.
Okay, here's where I have to step in and push back a little, because I think a lot of people listening are feeling the exact same skepticism right now.
Go for it.
It is incredibly easy to sit in a quiet, comfortable room, reading a book, and just say, ignore your senses. But how do you practically do that when your eyes are looking at a literal zero-balance bank account?
Yeah, that's the real challenge.
Or when your physical body is in actual throbbing pain? I mean, the eviction notice is a physical piece of paper. The medical diagnosis is real. It feels completely delusional, maybe even dangerous, to just pretend these things aren't screaming in your face. How does Goddard expect you to survive that kind of psychological dissonance?
That dissonance is the ultimate hurdle of this philosophy, and frankly, it's a completely valid reaction. Goddard addresses this extreme friction by explaining the concept of the world as a mirror.
A mirror.
Imagine you walk up to a mirror, look at your reflection, and you don't like the expression on your face. Let's say it's a scowl. You wouldn't reach out and try to physically mold the glass of the mirror to force the reflection to smile.
No, that would be madness. You'd just be scratching at the glass.
Exactly. You can't force the mirror to change its reflection. You have to smile yourself. You have to change the source. The physical world, even when it is screaming in your face with eviction notices or physical pain, is simply the mirror. It is only reflecting your past states of consciousness. You cannot change the reflection by fighting the mirror. You have to change the object being reflected, which is your current consciousness.
Okay.
Goddard is adamant about this. There is no one to change but self. If you want the physical world to change, you must take your attention away from the problem. Stop staring at the terrifying reflection in the mirror and internally assume the feeling of the solution. The physical world, bound by the law of reflection, will eventually, automatically, adjust to match.
So you have to stubbornly assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You have to live in that new reality in your mind, even while the mirror is temporarily, stubbornly showing you the old image.
Yes.
You basically have to be willing to feel a little delusional for a while.
You really do. You must cultivate complete indifference to the evidence of your senses. You don't actively fight the physical reality, because fighting it just gives it more emotional energy. You simply withdraw your attention from it, starving the old reality of the life force of your awareness.
Okay, so knowing that we have to ignore the tyranny of the 5 senses and change what we are projecting into the mirror, we finally arrive at Goddard's highly specific, practical technique I mean, we've talked about the theory, but how do you actually execute this?
Goddard lays out an exact three-step formula.
Let's hear it.
Step one is desire. You must define exactly what you want. And he emphasizes a crucial point that trips a lot of people up. You must be entirely, ruthlessly honest with yourself about that desire.
Ruthlessly honest.
Yeah. He uses the example of someone pretending to want spiritual growth because it sounds noble, when what they are really losing sleep over is paying their rent.
Yeah.
He says, if you need money, ask for money. Don't hide behind false piety. Your dimensionally larger self only responds to the language of genuine, honest desire.
Okay, so if step one is getting ruthlessly honest about, say, wanting a massive promotion and the money that comes with it, I assume step two is visualizing the grind, right?
What do you mean by the grind?
Like you picture yourself working long hours, impressing the boss, building the business, doing the actual step-by-step work to get the money.
Actually, no. And that is the biggest mistake people make. If you imagine the process of getting it, you are still actively acknowledging that you do not have it yet.
Oh, wow. I didn't think of it that way.
You are keeping yourself in a state of lack. Step two is to construct an event. You need to create a brief mental scene that would logically happen following the complete fulfillment of your desire.
Following it.
Yes, it must imply you already possess the goal. So if you want a promotion, you don't imagine working hard at your desk. You imagine the firm handshake of your boss congratulating you on the new title. You construct a single, brief action that implies the desire is already an accomplished fact.
Okay, we have the honest desire, and we have the post-fulfillment scene constructed like the handshake. What is the final step to make this stick?
Step three is to immobilize the body. You must relax into a physical state akin to sleep. You sit in a comfortable chair or lie flat on a bed. Close your eyes, effectively shutting down those five senses that constantly distract you.
Getting off the porches.
Exactly. Then you bring that constructed event into your mind's eye. You restrict the mental event to that single action, like the handshake, and you repeat it over and over again in your imagination.
Wait, what is the underlying psychology there? Why do you have to loop it like a GIF? Why not just imagine a whole 10-minute movie of your new life?
Because the human mind naturally wants to wander. It wants to start analyzing how the event will happen, which just brings back anxiety and doubt. By looping a single brief action, you force your attention to remain entirely focused on the feeling of fulfillment.
So you trap your focus.
You do. You are accessing the hypnagogic state, that drowsy borderland between wakefulness and sleep, where your conscious, critical mind drops its defenses. In that state, your subconscious is highly receptive. You repeat the action until it takes on the vividness and distinctness of reality. You have to literally feel the grip of the hand, hear the specific tone of the voice offering congratulations. You do this until your brain is tricked into feeling the actual thrill of accomplishment.
So what does this all mean for the listener when they wake up the next morning? Because it really reminds me of planting a seed in a garden.
A seed.
Yeah, like you prepare the soil, you plant the seed, and you water it, but you don't go out into the garden every single morning and dig the seed up to see how the roots are doing. If you do that, you kill the plant.
That is brilliant, yes.
You do the mental work, the planting, and then you just walk away. You trust the dark soil of your consciousness to do the rest of the work out of sight until the plant breaks the surface.
Digging up the seed is exactly what worrying about the how looks like. If you wake up the next day trying to scheme or manipulate the physical world to make your desire happen, you are digging up the seed.
You're ruining it.
You are acknowledging to yourself that you don't have it yet, which immediately throws you back into a state of lack. Once the mental exercise is done successfully, Goddard says you are relieved of all responsibility to make it happen.
Really? All responsibility?
All of it. Your dimensionally larger self, your unconditioned awareness, will determine the means. It will orchestrate whatever people, events, or seemingly random coincidences are necessary to bring that state into the physical 3D world. You must simply live in the assumption that it is already done.
This has been an incredibly dense, fascinating journey into a really radical way of thinking.
It really has.
To summarize what we've unpacked from 5 lessons today, Goddard is basically teaching that you are, quite literally, the author of your reality. By recognizing that ancient texts can be read as psychological manuals, by aggressively ignoring the limitations screamed at you by your 5 senses, and by vividly feeling the reality of your fulfilled desire in a sleep-like state, you are doing nothing less than compelling the universe to reflect your new state of mind.
You change the JOD-HE-VAU-HE.
You change the blueprint.
And placing the ultimate responsibility and the ultimate power squarely on your own shoulders. There is no external force to blame for your circumstances and no external savior coming to rescue you. Which brings us to one final, quite haunting metaphor from Goddard's text to leave you with today.
Oh, I like the sound of that. What is it?
Well, in decoding the Gospel of Mark, Goddard examines the story of Jairus. He's a high priest whose 12-year-old daughter is dying. Jesus is called to heal her, but he is delayed, and the child physically dies. But Jesus goes to her anyway, completely ignores the physical evidence of death, tells the weeping crowd she's only sleeping, and commands her to rise and walk. Goddard writes that this dying child represents the unfulfilled ambitions and the dead dreams housed within the mind of man.
So think about your own life right now.
Exactly. What dead child? What forgotten ambition, dismissed dream, or massive goal that you gave up on because your five senses told you it was completely impossible is lying dormant in your own mind right now? And if your consciousness truly is the only reality, what is stopping you from resurrecting it today?